Go ahead and tell me how you say it.
Philip Di Giuseppe.
But this guy, Di Giuseppe, he's my guy. I'm telling you, nobody's talking about him. I'm telling you that I think there's a good possibility he's in the opening night roster. Just that's my gut feeling. I'll leave it at that.
Nobody's talking about because we don't know who you're talking about.
Philip Di Giuseppe.
Here it is, Friday regular Canucks Insider, one half of the team, Donnie and Dolly.
The good old days. Undiscovered Phil Di Giuseppe days. Remember those days?
Weekdays.
And he gets a 2-year extension. Yeah. And you know what you do when you get a 2-year extension at his age? You run and take it and you sign ASAP. You know, his agent was, very happy, although his ice time was obviously way down last night. And, he got dropped in the third in favor of Garland and Podkolzin. But I'll tell you, in favor of Podkolzin. But Di Giuseppe's been great under Tocchet. He's a heavy-set player in on the forecheck. Tocchet obviously likes those type of players, so the Canucks went out and did something real quick. They got Brisebois done. They got, Di Giuseppe done. They're talking to Juleson, his agent, trying to get something done. So, they're getting some quick work done here
and
before
Ricky,
the season's over.
As Chris Gear, former Canucks AGM, pointed out, the level of compensation in this extension for Di Giuseppe at the minors is great enough that is likely to dissuade teams from picking him up on waivers. So you would really have to love Di Giuseppe or be desperate for that profile of player. So that also gives him a little bit more security and gives the Canucks a little bit more stability, that even if he isn't amongst their best 13 forwards next year, that they can send him down and bring him up probably with impunity, and that may be important.
Yep, and character guys again, and the team is identifying the character guy, and everyone talks about Alvin and Rutherford with all these signings in the past week. I disagree. This is Ryan Johnson, the Abbotsford GM, who understands that at the farm team system, at the farm team where there's so many young players, you need character guys, just like those 19, 20-year-olds in junior hockey who are so important. Ryan Johnson and Jeremy Colleton. Guys, I was going to get into this with both of you, but Tocchet has gone out of his way to praise Jeremy Colleton, and having the Sedin twins at every practice helps as well. The wisdom those two bring. And to share with the prospects is something you can't buy at the hockey shop. The difference between Utica and Abbotsford is night and day. These prospects on any given day know that the Canucks GM or the coach or scouts or management or the Sedin twins are going to be in attendance. That makes a big difference for young kids. It really, really does. And when your farm team is in Utica and you're probably, and at the time, the GM of the Canucks and the coach of the Canucks could not get to Utica to watch these players as much as they would have liked. But that's not the case. When the farm team is 45 minutes away, I think one of the greatest things the Canucks did was get that farm team to Abbotsford. It's going to pay off in spades. And now that the Sedin twins are involved, and I'm getting this from agents as well, is that the setup in Abbotsford is really nice. It's 100 times better in Utica. And I think this is going to pay off in spades for this franchise down the road.
Well, and Ricky, it's 33-21, 2-4, 12 games remaining. They're third place in the Pacific Division, and their 30 regulation wins ranks fourth in the entire AHL. So there are some nice things happening. Go ahead.
And Matt, 3 of Colleton's defensemen are in Vancouver right now.
That's right. No, a fair shout.
And Di Giuseppe,
too. Yeah.
He should be down there. And so, look, it bodes well for the Canucks, I think, being in Abbotsford.
In a not-so-long ago world, Podkolzin was down there, Dries was down there, Amon was down there. So he's lost a lot of his players here to the Vancouver. And
hold it a second. And the system works when Amon goes down there, plays higher in the lineup, touches the puck more, the confidence goes up, and he comes back. And he said in an interview the other day, he said going down to Abbotsford was not bad. And that's the biggest thing you want from prospects is when you get sent down, you don't want the sulker, the crier, the baby. Why am I going down? You're going down. You're going to get better. You're going to touch the puck more. You're going to play higher in the lineup. You're going to get your confidence. And I got to give Hoglander credit too. He's been down there. We all know why he's down there because 2 more games at the NHL level, and Hoglander is going to require waivers to go back down. That kid is showing. Rathbone is showing. A lot of they're not down there sulking and crying. They're down there with the hopes of getting called up.
Even Paul Colson, apparently he had bristled last year going down, but it seemed like he knew that he had to go down this year. And, again, we were still waiting for him and Krasov to be regular contributors, but, there's something to hold on to there, I think.
Absolutely, guys. And look, I wanted to talk about Rick Tocchet because I'm going to tell you something right now. I know the fans want to see losses for a better draft position. I get that. I'm on board. I see all that. But what I see with my eyes is a coach who's trying his hardest to build a culture and a winning habit. So you know what? You do it now. I get it. I love the first-round pick. I'd love the fifth overall, fourth overall, Bedard. I get all that. But this coach is trying to say, look, here's where I am. I got to build a culture, winning habits. So at training camp, we're ready to go on day one. What's killed the Canucks the last 3 years? Horrible starts in October and November. They're behind the 8 ball. They're playing catch-up all the frickin' time, year after year after year. So, despite last night's performance, I know they weren't very good, but I like what this team is doing in sense of they're listening to their coach. Emily Castonguay did I don't know if you guys caught it, did an interview on NHL Network yesterday. She said that, exactly what I'm saying. They're buying into what Tocchet is preaching. And one of the things I'm going to tell you guys where I really like Tocchet a lot, he's made it very clear to these guys, conditioning is going to be huge. I don't want to be that guy, that Vancouver Canuck, that shows up to training camp out of shape. The standard for fitness is going to be extremely high. He wants players at camp 3 to 4 weeks before. You know why? Because that's what Sidney Crosby does. He shows up to Pittsburgh 3 to 4 weeks before camp. Tocchet refers a lot to those Penguin teams. He was the assistant coach when they won back-to-back Stanley Cups. You set the culture early. I really like what this guy's saying a lot. And here's the difference between him and Boudreau, guys. This is the regime's pick, Rick Tocchet. Boudreau wasn't. They're going to do everything in their power to make sure that Tocchet is successful.
Like get him a third-line center, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Would be nice. And another defenseman would be nice. Do they have the money, though? Do they have the money? Here's what I can tell you guys. I certainly expect the Canucks to go looking for a third-line center this summer. They need a center who can fill big minutes when there's an injury to Miller or Pettersson. They need a center who's good in the face-off circle. Last night, guys, they were 40% in the face-off circle. Not good enough. You chase the game the whole time. There's no shortage of names they can target if, capital letters, if, these UFAs become available on July 1st and the Canucks have the money. There's Ivan Barbashev. There's local kid Alex Kerfoot. Oscar Sundqvist is a Patrick Alvin draft pick in Pittsburgh 10 years ago. When the Penguins drafted him, he knows this kid inside out. P.S. Suter, Canucks had interest in him as a free agent in the past. 2 younger, cheaper guys. I don't know, Tyson Jost, Sam Steele. Canucks called Sam Steele's agent last year before he signed, I believe, in Minnesota. Niles Amon is looking good as your fourth-line center, guys, next year, but they need to improve that third-line center position, and I think that's something they're going to try and do this summer.
No, absolutely, and in Barbashev's case, he'd be a nice hybrid on the JT Miller line if you're willing to go that
those
direction.
Guys, all those guys I mentioned, Barbashev, Kerfoot, Sundqvist, they're all in the 2.73, 3.5 range. And when you hit the market, you're going to be looking for a raise. So are the Canucks going to have the money? And because the third-line center of that ilk is not going to come cheap. If you want to go get Sam Steele and Tyson Jost, then you can get them at a much lower point price. But those guys are going to be a little bit expensive.
Which puts a lot of pressure on them to move one of these expensive wingers to free up some degree of cap space to be able to get that profile of player and hopefully improve the defense. Plus, one would suspect re-sign Ethan Bear. as
they are going to work,
and
I'll tell you this, guys, they're going to work hard to move a contract out this summer. And and Tyler Myers, on September 15th, is going to get his $5 million bonus. And when he does, there's not much real money left on that deal, and there's 1 year left. So Tyler Myers is you're going to keep an eye on that, and you're going to keep an eye on maybe a buyout, but certainly look for them to move heaven and earth to clear up cap space this summer.
Now, Blake, you have a well-earned and long reputation in this town of falling in love with some of these Russian players.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But even you,
Guilty.
Blake Price, I think have moved on from Nikita Tryamkin.
I have.
Ricky, you might be the only guy left in the province of British Columbia who concerns himself with Nikita Tryamkin. What's going on with the big Russian?
Price and I, over the years, have only had one thing in common: our love for Nikolai Goldobin. That's it. That's it. Price and I loved Goldobin. Travis Green obviously did not. Nikolai Goldobin, his season is over in the KHL.
Tryamkin, not Goldobin.
Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, Goldobin, did you scored a nice goal the other night in overtime?
Okay,
I don't know,
hold on.
How did you miss that, Price?
Now I'm confused. You put down Tryamkin in your notes.
Just
Are we
listen
talking
to me.
about
I'm
Tryamkin or Goldobin here?
No, Goldobin's down there. He's not coming back. Nikita is going to come back. So his season's over in the KHL. He turned down a contract to play in Russia next year, so he's going to turn his attention to the NHL. His agent, Todd Diamond, can start talking to teams, but Tryamkin cannot sign officially in the NHL until July 1st, but his agent now has got permission. As of now, I can tell you the Canucks have shown no interest all winter long in bringing him back. Look, the Canucks, they got to move on. It's a new regime. I don't think they were ever tied to Tryamkin. Tryamkin left this city over $200,000 in the last contract before he signed for those 3 years in Russia. His deal's over, so he's definitely going to come back to the NHL, guys. Give it another try for sure, 100%.
Moving on to a couple of Canucks draft picks. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, the first-round pick from last year's, had a tough go this year in his draft plus one season.
He does. Early word right now is the Canucks want to put him back in Sweden on the same team. Some feel he'd be better off in the Canadian Hockey League, playing with his peers. The Vancouver Giants had his rights last year. They don't have his rights anymore. But the early word is the Canucks would like to put him back in Sweden with the same team. He suffered a foot injury on February 6th. He's a couple of weeks away from being healthy. But this is a kid the organization is not down on. Like, I know a lot of people, and we do this in Canadian markets, we overhype prospects, and then we rip prospects when they don't do as well. This is an 18-year-old kid. He's a first-round pick. He's had a horrible time. What was it? He had mono, 2 World Juniors, not great. He struggled early. But you know what? Look, he's a young kid. He's only 18. He needs more time. And it looks like the Canucks want him there in Sweden next year again.
And what about Yanni Yurmo?
Before we go there, want him there in Sweden again. Of course, remember, Djurgårdens is playing the second division this year of Swedish hockey. So when they say they want him back there next year, and that's hopefully the Djurgårdens being promoted and playing in the better, or regardless, they want him back there.
I just can tell you what I'm hearing today.
Okay.
I expect Lekkerimäki's agent, Jerry Johansson, to talk with the Canucks more at the draft. But I'm just giving you the early word, and the vibes I'm getting is that they want him back with the same team. But of course, things change in hockey. What hockey people tell you today doesn't necessarily happen in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just saying to you, the Canucks are not down on this kid like a lot of people are. He's just a young kid going through a tough time. He's had a lot of injuries, and he's had, playing in a men's league at 17 isn't really easy either. That's why when he was drafted, the Vancouver Giants told the Canucks that, look, we'll take him, and you guys will let the Sedin twins come to practice and work with him. He would have been in Vancouver's backyard. It was actually a real nice setup. But at the time, they had decided to go overseas.
The 2000 draft was not the deepest one. At least it hasn't proven to be just yet. I mean, it's only a few years ago. but nobody outside of the first round has really made a significant impact. The Canucks got Joni Jurmo 82nd overall in the third round. The only player that's played more than 25 games, that they would have theoretically missed that has blossomed already is a guy by the name of Nils Åman, who is already a Vancouver Canuck. Where are they on Jurmo, though? They have to make a decision there?
Okay, third round pick 2020. This kid's important for me, and I'll tell you why, because the Canucks didn't have any picks in rounds 1 and 2, right? So he effectively is your first pick in that draft. Joni Jurmo. His season is over. The 20-year-old in Finland, he's got an ankle injury right now, expected to be out another week, inflammation, I think. No talks with his agent yet about signing. Some think he's going to stay in Finland for one more year. Look, the only way you sign Joni Jurmo right now is if you can talk to his agent and say two things. We think he's ready for Abbotsford, and we have a spot in Abbotsford. When I look at Abbotsford right now, here's what I see. Canucks have already signed Brisebois. They're going to work hard to bring Wolanin back. They're talking to Juleson. They're very high on Philip Johansson, the defenseman they got from Minnesota when the Wild didn't sign him. They could possibly sign a free agent defenseman here. We're talking about Jake Livingstone or Sam Malinsky from Cornell. All of a sudden, when you start lumping all these guys in, all of a sudden Abbotsford gets crowded. So you only make sense for Joni Jurmo to come to sign him as if you think he's ready for pro hockey in the American League and if there's room. So I think generally the feeling is that he'll go back to Finland for 1 year. And you see this with Europeans. They're okay. They're okay with going back for another year of development. They're in their home countries. It's very, they're comfortable. There's a comfort zone. So I think you'll probably see Joni spend another year in Finland.
Marvelous stuff, Ricky. Thanks for this, buddy. We'll catch up next Friday.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.